Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Nimisha Jadon from School of Studies Environmental Chemistry, Jivaji University, Gwalior. Today we are going to discuss about a module treatment scheme of domestic waste and the industrial effluents under the paper of environmental biotechnology. The learning objective of this module included the conventional treatment methods for the domestic wastewater that included nitrification and denitrification, lagooning, aeration and industrial wastewater treatment processes. The water pollution is caused by domestic sewage and the industrial waste. Any abatement of water pollution depends mainly on the efficiency of wastewater treatment. It is obvious that non-hazardous organic waste from the domestic sewage have to be separated from toxic industrial waste. The domestic wastewater treatment containing the conventional sewage treatment plants that are based on the biological decomposition of the non-toxic organic waste using the bacteria. Such biological decomposition conducted into aerobic condition, that is in the presence of plenty of oxygen. For the oxidation of 1 milligram of carbon, 2.67 milligram approximately dissolved oxygen is required. The organic hydrogen, sulfur, nitrogen and the major elements in the wastewater consume additional oxygen for their oxidation. The solubility of the oxygen in the water is only 9 ppm at 20 degrees centigrade and less at higher temperature. The purity of water depends on the rate of transport of oxygen by aeration and on the total load organic material which required oxidation. The organic load is expressed in terms of BOD, that is a biochemical oxygen demand, which means milligram of oxygen needed to decompose the organic material in 1 liter of wastewater.
As a rough estimate, the BOD values in milligram of oxygen per liter of wastewater for various processes are: for the domestic sewage it is 165 milligram of oxygen required per liter of wastewater. For the industrial wastewater it is 200 milligram of oxygen per liter of wastewater. For paper industry it is 372 milligram. For food industry it is 747 milligram, and for metal industry it is 13 milligram of oxygen per liter wastewater. The processes commonly used for domestic sewage are discussed here. In the first stage of domestic sewage treatment plant, the solid wastes are removed from water by screening and any scum is removed, followed by the settling of sludge. In the second stage, the residual liquid is subjected to biological oxidation of soluble organic material through a bed of microbes in activated sludge. Finally, the solids are removed by sedimentation. Liquid effluent from such treatment has a much lower organic load after chlorination to kill the pathogenic microorganisms may be mixed directly in the lakes and the streams in sewage treatment disposal. The first one is the primary treatment process. The primary treatment removes material that will either float or readily settle out by the gravity. It includes the physical processes of screening, comminution, grit removal and sedimentation. Screens are made of long, closely spaced, narrow metal bars. They block floating debris such as wood, racks and other bulky objects that could clog pipes or the pumps. In modern plants, the screens are cleaned mechanically and the material is promptly disposed of by burial on the plant grounds. A comminutor may be used to grind and shred debris that passes through the screen. The shredded material is removed later by the sedimentation or the flotation processes. Next is the secondary treatment process. The secondary treatment removes the soluble organic matter that escapes primary treatment. It also removes more of the suspended solids. Removal is usually accomplished by biological processes in which microbes consume the organic impurities as food and converting them into carbon dioxide, water and energy for their own growth and reproduction. The sewage treatment plant provides suitable environment, albeit of steel and concrete, for this natural biological process. The removal of soluble organic matter at the treatment plant helps to protect the dissolved oxygen balance of a receiving stream, river or lake. There are three basic biological treatment methods. Number one, the trickling filter. Second is the activated sludge process, and third one is the oxidation pond. A fourth less common method is the rotating biological contactor. The effluent of secondary treatment plant is introduced into the flocculation tank where calcium or the lime is added to eliminate phosphate as calcium phosphate or the calcium hydroxide. From there, the solution goes to ammonia stripping tower. The nitrogen present in wastewater exists as the ammonium cation, which is converted to gaseous nitrogen monohydrate at high pH value up to an pH 11. The remaining organic materials are removed by adsorption on activated charcoal, and finally chlorination is used for disinfection. The final effluent is fairly clean and BOD is much less than is 1 ppm, and phosphate is 0.2 to 1 ppm and ammonia is 0.3 to 1.3 ppm as the nitrogen. However, the tertiary treatment plants are costly due to their high energy requirements. The main energy costs are for recycling calcium oxide obtained from lime sludge by heating and operating the ammonia stripping tower. An alternative method for nitrogen removal is transformation to nitrogen gas using a combination of nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. Oxidative degradation is accomplished mostly chemoheterotrophic bacteria and ciliated protozoa. The effective degradation is caused by predominant genera like Pseudomonas, Zooglea, Flavobacterium, Alkaligenes, etc. Nitrification of waste is done by the action of genera Nitrosomonas, Nitrospira species in the first step and by Nitrobacter and Nitrosococcus etc. in the second step. The denitrification takes place by the action of the genera Pseudomonas and Micrococcus etc. Here in this reaction shows that the ammonium ion in the presence of oxygen, the Nitrosomonas convert this ammonium ion into hydrogen and nitrite and water, and this nitrite ion again react with the oxygen in the and the Nitrobacter convert it into the nitrate ion, and this nitrate ion react with the carbonaceous material that is present in the wastewater as a organic waste and the hydrogen ion, and then convert all the organic waste into the nitrogen gas, carbon dioxide and the water. Another process is the lagooning process, the oldest process in the country, there are several types of these processes, including aerobic lagooning, anaerobic lagooning, and the aerobic anaerobic lagooning. In the lagooning process, here the picture shows that in the presence of sunlight and oxygen, the aerobic condition exists in the raw water treatment plant, and the fungi and bacteria, by consuming the oxygen, convert into the new cell of algae or the dead cell, and they are again releases the phosphate ion, which is consumed by the carbon dioxide. Ammonia and hydrogen is consumed by the again fungi and bacteria, and they are converted into the new cell. So the release or in the atmosphere is the ions of water and the carbon dioxide, and at the bottom of the tank the anaerobic condition exists, where the organic waste by the microbes convert into the organic acids and the alcohol, and finally they are converted by the anaerobic microorganism into the methane, carbon dioxide, and the ammonia. The next is the anaerobic treatment process. In these processes, about 95% of the biodegradable carbon is decomposed into biogas, and 50% in aerobic processes, and the rest 5% into biomass. The three main steps are involved in the breakdown of organic waste under the anaerobic condition included. Number 1 is hydrolytic step, in which the organic waste convert into the organic acids and alcohol. Then second step is the acetogenetic step, in which at the temperature of 35 degrees centigrade and the pH when maintained into 5 to 6, the organic acids and alcohol convert into the acetic acid, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen gas. And the third one step is the methanogenic step, which occur at the temperature of 45 degrees centigrade and pH of 6 to 8, and they convert this acetic acid and the other acids into the methane and carbon dioxide. This figure shows the anaerobic digestion as a heart of the treatment and the recovery technology. Here in this figure, the liquid waste, slurries, solid waste, and the biomass when enter into the anaerobic wastewater treatment process or the anaerobic digestion. After the anaerobic digestion, the biogas is released, which is used as an energy sources, and the stabilized sludge is passes through the another one tank, where the soil conditioning is used for this sludge is used as for the soil conditioning and as a food for the other bioactivity of microorganism, and the clear liquid effluent is passed to the next tank, where it is used as a fish pond for the food or the irrigation purposes. And the post treatment methods are also used for the treatment of this kind of water, where we can get a clear water and then recover the ammonium ion and phosphate salts, which is used as a fertilizer, and the sulfur content again, which is used for the fertilizer and the other food sources.
Now we discuss here about the upflow anaerobic sludge bed, that is blanket reactor, which is also known as UASB process. It is based on the solubility of the microbial flows to produce a region at the bottom of the digester where the very high biomass concentration can be maintained. The effluent is fed in the bottom of the UASB into a base of the sludge blanket. The size of the flokes varies from 1 to 5 millimeter diameter and should have good settling characteristics. The loading rate is higher in the comparison to other processes like 19 kilogram of COD meter cube deciliter, and the UASB process satisfied the urgent need of developing countries for the simple, low cost and integrated environmental protection system which combine the wastewater treatment with the recovery and reuse.
This is the picture of upflow anaerobic sludge blanket reactor, where the treatment effluent is transferred to the anaerobic tank, where the sludge is settled down and the treated effluent is passes through the another treatment plant, and the gas like methane and other gases that is generated due to the anaerobic processes is released to the outlet and are used as a biogas. The anaerobic wastewater treatment is preferred to other processes for the reaction. Number one, for it is cheaper than the aerobic processes in respect of treatment of medium and high strength wastewater, that is the COD up to an 1500 milligram per liter. Then energy like biogas is produced instead of wasted. And third one is the less space is required for the anaerobic plant. And fourth one advantage, it is a relatively low cost technology in terms of the equipment. UASB can be considered as a core of a very promising environmental protection and resource recovery concept. This is a schematic diagram of a raw wastewater treatment which is generated from the domestic supply, domestic wastewater. Here in the primary treatment, the BOD value is 200 ppm and ammonia value is 30 ppm and phosphate is 25 ppm. When this water is passes through the screening and the sedimentation tank, the undissolved and settleable solid grease and scum has been removed from this wastewater. Then the water is transferred to the secondary treatment plant, where the activated sludge process held due to the aerobic digestion. The organic load of the water reduces and the carbon dioxide and water released in the atmosphere. And finally the sedimentation tank remove the sludge that is generated after the activated sludge process, and dissolved finely suspended organics are removed by this process. Then the water effluent is received is having a less BOD value up to 25 ppm. Ammonia is reduced up to 20 ppm and phosphate is also reduced in some contexts. And finally the sludge that is generated after the primary sedimentation tank and the secondary sedimentation tank, it is passed through the sludge thickening or drying, and then the anaerobic digestion or the incineration of sludge is carried out for the sludge treatment, and finally the solid is disposed of and used for the other purposes.
The next is the disposal of sludge. In sewage treatment, disposal of sludge is one of the major problems. The sludge can be spread on soil or the landfill, though the latter are becoming scarce with the increasing population. For localities near the shore, the sludge is usually dumped into the ocean, which however has a fragile ecosystem. In near future, all kinds of ocean dumping should be stopped. The sludge may be utilized as fertilizer on cropland. There is the risk of contamination of air with the toxic pollutants emitted from the sludge. A safe procedure is an anaerobic digestion sludge yielding methane. The effluent or the liquid from the secondary treatment plant has the lower BOD up to 25 milligram per liter. It has a composition that BOD 25 ppm, mononitrogen dihydrogen is the 20 ppm, and the phosphate concentration is again 25 ppm. For clear lakes, this type of effluent will promote eutrophication. Now we discuss about the industrial wastewater treatment. The toxic, non-biodegradable chemical in industrial waste effluent can be purified by two methods. The number one is filtration by activated charcoal or the synthetic resins, and number two method is the membrane techniques. The activated charcoal with the large surface area is quite an effective filter medium for absorption of the organic molecules. The 99% of the reduction in the concentration of the several chlorinated hydrocarbons in an effluent stream is carried out by using activated charcoal method.
This table shows the removal of some toxic chlorinated organics by using the activated charcoal treatment process. The highly toxic fertilizers or pesticides like aldrin, dieldrin, DDT and Arachlor has been removed by the activated charcoal method up to 99%, and the few amounts is remaining after using this activated charcoal treatment process. This is the picture of activated charcoal treatment processes where the wastewater containing the toxic organics passes through the activated charcoal filter bed. Whole the toxic elements are absorbed at this surface of the activated charcoal, and finally we are getting the purified effluent that contain 1% of the toxic organics or less than 1% amount, and maximum toxics are removed by using this activated charcoal filter process. The filtration by activated charcoal or the synthetic resins is very useful for the removal of industrial waste chemical. Thus, the styrene divinyl benzene copolymer can remove chlorinated pesticides by absorption at the surface, while the cationic and the anionic ion exchange resins can eliminate ionic dyes from the textile mill wastewater. The next is the membrane technique. The ion exchange membrane finds an important application in the removal of toxic waste by the filtration of or the ultrafiltration or the reverse osmosis. In ultrafiltration, the solution is pushed under pressure through a membrane which contains pores of size 2 to 10,000 nanometer, whereby big molecules are retained and the effluent that passes off free of big molecules. In the reverse osmosis, the membrane pores are smaller up to 0.04 to 600 nanometer in size, and both these techniques have found extensive application in purification of industrial wastewater in metal, textile, paper and pulp and food industries. This is the picture of filtering industrial waste by the synthetic resins. Here the styrene divinyl benzene is used as a core matrix which is attached with the cation exchange resin, and these resins are enabled to remove the cations from present in the wastewater. Similarly, the secondary amine groups are used as an anion exchanger, and they are exchanged the anions present in the wastewater and they are trapped by using these synthetic resins. This picture shows the industrial wastewater purification by the membrane technique of ultrafiltration or the reverse osmosis. Here in this picture, when we applied the pressure, the osmotic pressure is also generated, and in the reverse osmosis process, the chamber is classified by the membrane of porous membrane, where the one chamber is filled with the purified water and another one is the pollutants or the wastewater. When we applied the pressure, the water is moved towards the reverse direction through the membrane, and all the pollutants or the microorganism present in the water is trapped in the membrane, and finally we are getting the purified water in the next chamber. So the membrane pore size for ultrafiltration is 2 to 10,000, and for the reverse osmosis it is 0.04 to 600 nanometer. The electrodialysis is the another membrane technology which is used for the concentration of ions. Under an electrical field, anions migrate towards the anode and the cations towards the cathode. The cell contains membranes with fixed charge, negative or the positive, whereby the membranes become impermeable to the either anion or the cation. This technique is useful for production of fresh water in arid coastal regions. In Japan, the electrodialysis of seawater is the principal source of salt, among other important uses mentioned. May be made of the treatment of metal plating waste, battery manufacture, glass etching and desalination. This is the picture of electrodialysis assembly. Here the various segments of membrane are separated the chamber, and when we applied the potential, the water is passes through all the membranes that are present in the electrodialysis chamber, and the anions and cations are moved towards the negative and the positive direction, and finally they are trapped in the membrane, and the fresh water produced, which is collected from the lower part of the electrodialysis assembly.
Here, next step is the drinking water supplies. The treatment of drinking water supplies is a matter of great public health importance. The water treatment plant are in general simpler than the sewage treatment plant. They work in 3 steps. Number 1, aeration to settle suspended matter, coagulation of small particles and suspended matter by lump and ferric chloride, and finally disinfection by the chlorination to kill the viruses and bacteria, etc. Recently, it has been discovered that the chlorination gives rise to the hypochloric acid and the chlorinated organics, which are toxic in the drinking water, and also chloramines if ammonia is present in the water, and also the chloramines if the ammonia present in the water body. The permissible dose of hypochlorite in the drinking water has been fixed at 100 ppm or the 100 parts per billion by the Environmental Protection Agency in USA. Industrial activities generate a variety of the waste product which are generally discharged into the waste stream. The nature of the industrial waste depends upon the industrial processes in which these are generated. The pollutants usually associated with the industrial effluents are the organic matter, inorganic dissolved salts. The pollutants usually associated with the industrial effluents are the organic matter, inorganic dissolved salts, suspended solids, fertilizing materials, thermal constituents in the form of heat, microorganisms and the pathogens. Organic pollutants decrease the limit of dissolved oxygen, impart offensive odor and color to the effluent. If contaminated with the marine environment, there would be substantial rise in its salinity. If there is a high concentration of phosphate and nitrate, the growth of aquatic plant will rise, causing the eutrophication. The thermal pollution of industrial effluent causes deoxygenation, creating serious ecological problem. Food processing industry effluent causes microbial pollution and the health hazards. Now we discuss about the classification of the industrial effluent. It is difficult to classify industrial effluent on the basis of its composition on account of diversity of modern industrial processes and the practices. It may be possible to classify wastewater on the basis of its contents or rather origin from which it emerges. For instance, effluent from the food industry contains too much of organic matter, while effluent from the textile industry contains detergents, while one from the plating industry waste contains cyanide and the metal pollutants. Such classification therefore is based upon the analytical procedure useful for the specific industrial situation.
Now we discuss about the effluents from the chemical industries. The wastewater emerging from heavy chemicals, fertilizers, plants and pesticides factories fall under this category. The wastewater is and usually colored with strong offensive odor. The wastewater from the pesticide industry contains abnormally high concentration of organic phosphorus compounds, which is extremely toxic to flora and fauna. The phosphatic industry waste contains shallow and the slime suspended matter with acidic character and the high BOD. The non-degradable matter increases BOD due to the presence of soaps, detergents and the fatty acids. The effluents from food, beverages and drug industry. The food industry encompasses sugar, canning, dairies, beverages, distilleries, etc. The effluent from food, sugar, pharmaceutical, drug industry have a very high BOD, dissolved organic matter and suspended organic solvents. The wastewater from the canned food, dairy products, meat, poultry preparation contains high level of proteins, carbohydrates, amino acids, alkali metals and phosphates. Rice processing industry waste contains a high level of starch. Effluents from the material industries. Such industries compose of steel, electroplating, foundry, smithy, paper, pulp, rubber and the glass industry. Their waste have colloidal coloring matter, sulfate, non-degradable lignin, sulfonated waxes, dyes and bleaching agents. Steel industry waste is acidic due to high mineral content, cyanides and alkalis, and pickle waste contain zinc, chromium and iron. This table shows the wastewater which is released from the various industry and their characteristics like pH, BOD, COD, suspended solids, other constituents and their pollution aspects. So the waste that is generated from the industry is essential to be treated by the all primary, secondary and tertiary treatment process, and after that it is discharged into main water stream.
So students, let us summarize this module. Here we have discussed about the introduction of the waste generated from the domestic area. Then we also discuss here about the detailed process of nitrification and denitrification. Then the upflow anaerobic sludge bed reactor method process for the treatment of waste generated and its principle, and found that this method is highly suitable because it generates the biogas that can be reutilized for the other purposes. So here we have discussed all about the domestic as well as industrial wastewater treatment processes. Thank you so much.